Good evening. Public meeting to order. City Council of Greenfield, September 10th, 2024 meeting. Roll call, please. Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez.
Yes.
Councilmember Martinez. Councilmember Ortiz.
Here.
Councilmember Tipton.
Present.
Item C, excuse council member absences. This agenda item allows city council to excuse the absence of council members who are not present at the council meeting. If all council members are present, this agenda item will be skipped, of course. Any public comment on this item? Seeing none, come back to city council.
Can we just get confirmation for the record that Councilmember Martinez called in that she was ill today?
She did call in.
Yes, I believe I sent an email to all of the council.
Have a motion on this item?
Based on that, I would move to excuse Councilmember Martinez.
Do I have a second? I will go ahead and second. We'll move to second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I'm sorry. Aye. Those opposed? Okay, so it says 2-2.
Answer, that's right. Mayor White,
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Rodriguez,
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz,
No.
Councilmember Tipton,
No.
I want to call for the invocation by Pastor Deanna Salinas.
That's correct. Father, we thank you today for your presence in this place. We thank you, Lord, that you're going to be inside every city council member, Father God. This council, Father God, Lord, let it be there. Our business, the things that we need to do, Father God, like the agenda that is set before them, Lord, that they will use wisdom, Father God, knowledge and understanding, Father God, for the welfare of this city, Lord. Father, we just ask that you bless this time together, Father God, with the angels of heaven around this place, with all evil from coming within, Father God. And we thank you, Lord, that everyone will respect each other, Father God, and just be civil, Father God, and just acknowledge, Father God, that we are here to do for the better of this city. Father, we thank you, Lord, in the name of Jesus. And everyone says,
Thank you. Please stand for the pledge. Ready?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Agenda review.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull item J4, presentation on City of Greenfield sidewalks.
Okay. Public comments from the audience regarding items not on the agenda. This portion of the agenda allows an individual the opportunity to address the council on any items not on closed sessions, consent calendar, public hearings, or city council business. Under state regulations, no action can be taken on non-agenda items, including issues raised under this agenda item. Members of the public should be aware of this when addressing council regarding items not specifically referenced on this agenda. Any public comments?
Good evening. I'm here tonight for two reasons. But for right now, what I want to say is that I want to compliment and thank the staff of the Public Works for being so diligent with our parks. And there was a situation with one of the trees in our park that the branches were just falling off. I mean, they were just coming down, big branches. And so called it in and they took care of it right away. Also want to thank the coordinator, Jesus Perez, for also being on top of it and contacting Public Works as well. So thank you very much for maintaining our parks and being diligent about our safety too. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else in the chambers? One hand raised. Go for it.
Gabby?
Go ahead, Gabby.
Okay, it was a delay on your side. But good evening, council members. I'm following up on the next steps to my formal complaint about my First Amendment rights regarding Councilwoman Martinez blocking me on her official City of Greenfield Councilwoman Facebook page. I attended the special meeting a few months ago and spoke about how your conduct of ethics is in place to follow the rules. Councilwoman Martinez has blocked me, violating my First Amendment rights and violating the Greenfield Code of Ethics. My request is for the councilwoman to unblock me and any others she has blocked. During the special meeting, there was a vote on how to move forward in deciding consequences, and Mayor White, you wanted the sole responsibility of this. Judging from your response to many things at the city council meetings, I have concluded that you play it safe. You don't like any conflict and therefore you stay neutral. The thing about staying neutral is you're allowing behavior which undermines the Greenfield Code of Ethics. When will it be enough? When will you take a stand for what is right and legally ethical? If you want to play it safe, then why would you want the sole responsibility of deciding consequences? You should have let the whole city council members put it to a vote and have the city council members make the necessary hard decisions. I question why you would want to be the sole responsible person. Was it to keep the peace amongst yourself instead of doing what you were elected to do, which is represent the voice of Greenfield? Allowing Councilwoman Martinez to block anyone who disagrees with her or holds her accountable for her behavior only fuels bad behavior. I'm asking you, Mayor White, who holds the power to uphold your code of ethics. And this isn't about siding with one side over the other. It's about following your own code of conducts. So I'm asking you to step up and hold her accountable or bring it to a vote and take the spotlight off you. As of this evening, Councilwoman Martinez has blocked me, and I would like you to move on this formal complaint as to not to drag it out. I know Councilwoman Martinez is set up to end the term in December, but this is about setting an example for future council members who will be taking over, and even current ones, that they may not violate code of ethics without any consequences. I also wanted to talk about the child sexual assault from the high school teacher from Soledad, and I saw Councilwoman Martinez replied on a post, and I do appreciate your response. There should never be any difference on how the crime was committed or who committed the crime. They're all heinous crimes and should be treated as such, that the support should always remain on the survivor and not the perpetrator, whether it's in writing a letter or posting on social media. I saw that today's agenda, there is a presentation on sexual abuse. I'd like to say that I know a few people question my intent or why I advocate when I'm not a resident. I advocate for change, and having a presentation tonight is why I will.
I'm going to have to put you out there, Gabby. Thank you very much for your comment.
Laura?
Good evening, City Council. My name is Gabriela Mireles, and today I have two comments. The first one is regarding the sidewalk. It was an item that was pulled, so I think it's now the time so that I can talk about the sidewalk. I currently am living in 12th Street. The street was renovated and there was a sidewalk put in front of my property. I've requested respectfully for that sidewalk to be reviewed, as there is a very high slope and it's dangerous as I exit or enter my property. And I've been ignored and been told by Jamie that nothing is gonna be done. We've even requested a meeting with Bob White, and we haven't received a response. So I'm wondering, are we gonna get ignored? Nothing gonna be done? I'm not the only one that is having issues with the sidewalk. So are my neighbors. So I feel that as community members, we should be assisted and not ignored. And the second comment that I want to make is on these dogs that are loose and attacking cats. It's an issue that's going to happen again and again. The community members are going to be ignored. And I saw a comment that Maria Villagomez made that the dogs need to be caught in the act. That's what they were told by police officers. How is it that they're going to catch these dogs in the act when we call animal patrol, it takes forever to get through or forever to animal patrol or police to come when we call them? And I understand they're busy, so I don't know how they're gonna catch these dogs in the act. I think that evidence, videos, and testimonies should be enough for these pet owners to be held responsible and accountable for their pets' actions. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move to comments from city council.
It's been a while, so I've just got a few here. First is, as a lot of people are aware, there was a fire in South County that did cause some evacuations down in South County. Just a reminder to have a prep kit ready. You never know when a fire is going to come up this way as well. Have your meds, have your papers, have stuff to take care of your pets and your kids, your elderly that live with you. Have something to do, have like a portable device to charge your cell phone and things like that. Make sure you're ready to go just in case it happens. I have one set up in my truck that I update every so often. Just make sure that you've got that ready to go. I'm also going to harp on stop signs and speed limits. I've actually been seeing an awful lot of running the stop signs at the Walnut overcrossing on 101. People just coming up, either making the right turn without even slowing down. People coming up. Actually, I saw this afternoon when I came home, somebody came up off the ramp from northbound 101, came up, took the turn at full speed onto westbound Walnut, didn't even slow down. And the bad thing was, is there was an officer 3 cars in front of him, didn't do anything about it. So I don't know if the officer didn't see him in the rearview mirror or what, but that's kind of a little bit of concerning about that. I'm getting lots of comments about abandoned vehicles in the neighborhoods. Obviously, we still have the 72-hour limit on those. We need to see if we can get code enforcement to go and start putting out more signs that says, hey, by the way, you've been here 72 hours, you need to move. And especially in my neighborhood over there, you can tell that the cars haven't been moved because they have a layer of dust an inch thick on their windshields. So maybe that's something we need to train the CSOs to look for, is if they've got a layer of dust that's so thick you can't see through the windshield, maybe it's been there more than 72 hours. I've also been getting lots of complaints about commercial vehicles parking in the residential districts on all sides of the highway, simply because we do have a lot more ag vehicles. The ones, I actually had a lady call me last night, and she's concerned because there's a huge farm truck that parks in her neighborhood. And not only does it's more than 18 inches from the sidewalk, but the truck itself is like 10 feet wide. So it's taking up half the lane as well. So she's concerned about things like that with visibility for vehicles. I'm glad to see the parking ordinance on tonight. I'm glad to see that the CSD reports have been coming out and they look a lot better than they used to. I'm happy to see that they're actually going through and marking which ones are self-initiated versus called-ins. And the last thing I have is concern over the dogs that are loose. I've talked to Maria Villagomez several times about this. We're concerned about them because it seems like it's the same behavior. And from the videos that she shared with me, it looks like it's the same dogs. I understand that it may not be, but the appearances are that it's the same dogs that were out doing it before. And if that's the case, we really need to do something about it. I understand that cats are treated as property and so are dogs. So it's really a property damage problem. But the fact of the matter is if the dogs continue to attack it's only a matter of time before they attack a person. And that would not be a good thing. So I definitely like to see more updates on that if we can. And this is actually bringing back to something, I know we're not supposed to respond to this. Is actually something I was discussing with Maria as well, is response time to CSO calls, particularly to the animal control calls. It would be nice if we could get an SLA around that, saying for an animal control call where there is something actively happening, we get an officer on scene in 10 minutes. I know that's hard sometimes based on what's going on elsewhere in the city, but honestly, I think a dog attacking something is more important than writing a ticket for somebody who's parked wrong. So if we could possibly see about doing some prioritization around that, I'd appreciate it. And that's all I've got.
Good evening. Welcome back, everybody. It's been a much needed break for council and for staff, but I'm happy to be back. I think I wanted to first talk about the roaming dogs that Councilmember Tipton just talked about. Probably about 2 weeks ago, a friend of mine was walking her little dog and they were attacked by a dog. I'm not saying it's these same dogs, but we do need to be more vigilant. You know, if we see dogs, we need to start calling them in a lot faster. Luckily, she was able to jump on top of a car with her dog and, you know, she was able to save her little dog. And, you know, that's, it's really quite concerning, you know, because at some time it could be a child or anything like that, that can get attacked. There was just another case, I think in Visalia, of a child that got mauled. So it's really important that we get this under control. Also, I wanted to talk about the bridge. Councilmember Tipton talks quite a bit about wearing dark clothing when you're walking over the bridge over here on Walnut. And I know sometimes it feels like it's a little repetitive, but I want to say it was probably 2 weeks ago, somebody was hit. And there we had just pulled into town from out of town, and we've seen that there was a gentleman laying on the floor. So it's really, really important to wear light clothing, and we really need to get on this bridge and a walkway. It's got to be a priority before somebody gets killed or really badly injured. I was really happy to see that the visitor center is up. I can't wait for that to finally be open. I'm not sure if everybody's aware, but you know, we did get the lights in the parks, but now we also have cameras in some of the parks. So I think that's really going to deter a lot of problems that we were having, you know, with people doing things they shouldn't be doing in the parks. So I was very happy to see that those were now in place. A while back, I did ask about increasing the pay for Planning Commission, and I haven't heard anything back yet. So if I can get an update on that, that would be really great. Also, I've been having a lot of meetings, and some of the meetings are down here in Greenfield. And unfortunately, I wasn't aware that I needed to make an appointment to use one of the meeting places here. And I was wondering if there was any way that, not to disturb staff, but if there was a way to maybe post a calendar of the days that the room is available. So I don't have to be going through people and just kind of be able to jump on there and save a spot for myself. Let me see. Oh, also, I did get some calls, and we need to have some clarification here. We are talking about a rental registry, and we've done some work. We've had some workshops on that, but I got calls regarding a rent cap ordinance. And I just need to make sure that the public is aware that we are not doing that. That hasn't even been in discussion to talk about capping the rents. We've talked about rental registry, but we haven't done the other part. So I've asked for a workshop before for landlords if we're going to put this in place. And so I'm hoping that that's something that city staff can work on soon, so we can stop this misinformation. And lastly, I'm really excited to announce, and I'm doing this as Rachel Ortiz, not Councilmember Ortiz, but we will be holding a day of thanks on this November 24th at the Memorial Hall. We will be serving meals for the community for up to 400 people. This is going to be quite an event, you know, to try to pull together in the weeks that we have left. But with the help of other civic groups, this will be under the American Legion, Post 635. And I will be working with them to make this happen. There's a lot of information that needs to come out, and we will be posting that probably around the first, maybe around the 1st of October. We'll go ahead and start posting that out, and we'll have all the information on it. Probably within next week, I'll start going and collecting donations and giving out letters, talking to our other civic groups and talking to stores for donations. I think it's really something that we do need, and it will be called a Day of Thanks. And it will be on Sunday, November 24th. The whole community is welcome. I'm just hoping that we get a lot of volunteers. We have a lot of people in the community that surely can step up for the day. And I just want to make sure that we're giving back to our community, that our community knows that, you know, we care about you and we care about the struggles that everybody's having right now. And I think it's really important to unify our community. And so that's why we're doing this. So as I said, we'll give more information down the road. But yeah, so that's it for that. And I'd like to also say that for October, I will not be here for the first meeting in October. I'll be traveling out of the country. I was thinking about doing it remotely, but there's a little over 14-hour difference, so I don't think that that's going to be possible. So I just would like to let the council know now that I will not be in attendance on the first meeting in October. Thank you.
Good evening and happy Hispanic Heritage Month, everyone. I have a couple of things. The first one is just, I wanted to congratulate and thank everybody who had any part in putting together the last Music in the Park event that we had, the tribute to Selena. I went with my daughter and it was a lot of fun. It was very well put together. The performers were really great. The people that attended got up and were dancing with the performers, and it was just a really good way to spend the evening. So I encourage everybody to go out for the next one. I believe it is in a couple of weeks here, but I'm sure it's going to be posted to the social media pages to announce a specific date. But I would encourage everybody to go out and just join that because it was a lot of fun. And Victor Garcia and city staff, again, everyone who put that together did a really great job. The other thing I wanted to ask is if we could provide that summary of our council meetings on social media, Paul. I know it's our favorite thing to get on there and summarize the meetings, but it did get a lot of views. And if we could do a brief summary to post on our website or actually on the Facebook and the social media channels, I think that would be great to also help that misinformation spreading that happens a lot. I have something that I wanted to discuss regarding MST because it is going to affect a lot of our residents, and it's not on our agenda tonight to provide updates for our committee meetings, but it's really important. So I'm going to reference an email from the MST CEO for this information, and I want to thank them for providing this. The on-call service is set to stop on December 31st. Soledad and Gonzalez both are already set to have their circulars start up when that service is ending, but Greenfield is not. So I just want to make sure that everybody is aware of the importance of ensuring that we're extremely responsive to MST staff about the upcoming need for the encroachment permits and things like that, because we're on such a tight timeline now. And the figures for this year are that in the first 6 months of the year, 4,831 people boarded. Those are individual boardings on MST, on the on-call service. And so that is going to affect a lot of people. So we need to make sure that we are getting on board with getting these plans approved and communicating with them as quickly as possible so that we don't have a large gap in service, because it's going to affect a significant number of our residents. It's hundreds per month and then thousands just in those 6 months. So that's something I just want to mention, because I don't think it would be fair if our residents are just caught off guard with suddenly not having that service. It's really important that we do what we have to do as a city to make sure that we don't have a gap in service. So that is all.
All right, thank you very much. I have a few things. Remind everyone about the Greenfield Harvest Festival. Just a little over a month away, October 19th and 20th, the 2-day event. Includes the car show, the arts and crafts, lots of food vendors, live music. And I've heard rumors of an antique farm equipment show. The 2-day event is a change from the past, so please participate and enjoy. Blue Zone walks are happening every Tuesday, 9 o'clock, starting at the gazebo. My wife and I have been attending several times, so if you get a chance, come out and join us. Notice here there is free tire recycling at the landfills, transfer stations in Salinas, Gonzales, and King City. If you have old tires around them, clear them out for free all of September. Let's keep our city clean as we can. Youth basketball camp deadline sign up is September 21st. Cost is $30. Being put on by the Greenfield Recreation Department. I want to thank Public Works for all their hard work getting the dry grass and weeds down around the city. Really does look a lot better. Thanks for your hard work and your dedication there. Also happy to see 12th Street sidewalk and repaving project completed. Thank you, Jamie, for staying on that project and getting it completed. Thank you. Looks so much better, and it's often drive down that 12th Street. Thank you. Also wanted to announce that we're having a 9/11 ceremony tomorrow morning in front of City Hall. If anyone would like to attend, that starts at 8:30 tomorrow. So please attend if you would like to. And that's what I have. Thank you. All right, we'll move to consent calendar. All matters listed in the consent calendar are considered routine and may be approved by one action of City Council unless a request for removal for discussion or explanation is received prior to the time council votes on the motion to adopt. Are there any public comments regarding items on the consent calendar?
Gabby,
I'm not seeing it on our screen here, so.
Gabby,
Sorry, I think I accidentally pushed a button. I apologize.
Any other public comments on consent? If not, I'll entertain a motion on the consent calendar. Or do you want to, I'm sorry, does anybody want to pull anything? No.
Second.
Then move the second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye, opposed. It was passed. Mayor's presentations, proclamations, communications, and resolutions. That would be proclamation honoring Jacob Fromm. Honoring Jacob's Heart Children's Cancer Support Services and declaring September 2024 as Children's Cancer Awareness Month in the city of Greenfield. Whereas the character of our community is revealed in how we treat our most vulnerable, and whereas each year 19.2 children out of 100,000 children in our community will be diagnosed with cancer, and whereas cancer remains the leading cause of death by disease among children, more than asthma, diabetes, cystic fibrosis, congenital abnormalities, and AIDS combined. Whereas Jacob's Heart has been keeping medically fragile children and families housed, fed, and emotionally supported by steadfastly adhering to the community commitments. Parents of children with cancer and other serious illnesses will be relieved of financial fears and able to focus their attention on their children. Number two, no child undergoing intensive treatment in our community will be homeless. Number three, families of seriously ill children will not experience food insecurity during and after the pandemic. And no child seriously ill in our community will ever miss a medical appointment because of the lack of transportation. Whereas Jacob's Heart holds the memories and honors the legacies of hundreds of children from our local community who have been lost to cancer, ensuring that their memories will never be forgotten. Whereas the oncology department of the Steel Packard Hospital in Stanford has worked closely with Jacob's Heart for the past 26 years as a trusted community partner in providing family-centered care that addresses the emotional, practical, and financial struggles of families of children with cancer. And whereas it is important for all of Greenfield City residents to recognize the impact of pediatric cancer on families within our community and honor the children in our community whose lives have been cut short by cancer. Now, therefore, I, Robert White, Mayor, City of Greenfield, hereby declare September 2024 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the City of Greenfield, and hereby honor Jacob's Heart Children's Cancer Support Services for outstanding support to our community and the volunteer organization's contribution to childhood cancer awareness. Do we have anybody here?
Hi, Mayor. Hi, Council. I'm online. My name is Alyssa, and I'm here on behalf of Jacob's Heart. I would just like to say thank you so much to Mayor and Council for proclaiming September as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. Without your guys' support, we really can't advocate for the families in our community, but with your guys' support, we're making sure that we're advocating for families who have children with cancer in our communities. Currently, we're serving 392 families, which comes out to over 1,800 individuals. So we got to make sure that we're representing those families out in our communities. And once again, thank you so much to you all.
All right. J2 proclamation of May September 24th. Proclamation of the City Council, City of Greenfield, September 2024 as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Whereas mental health and substance use disorders affect all communities nationwide with commitment, support, and those impacted can embark on the journey of improved health. And whereas the focus of national recovery this September is celebrating all people to make the journey of recovery possible. And whereas the impact on mental health and substance use disorders alcohol battles, every month people become more aware. People in need of recovery. Awareness and of the effective services that are available. And our prevention of mental and substance use disorders works, treatment is effective, and people recover in our area and around the nation. And now, therefore, for the reason above, I ask citizens of the Greenfield community to celebrate September as National Recovery Month. I, Robert White, on behalf of the City of Greenfield, participate in the month of September 2024 as National Alcohol and Drug Addiction Recovery Month. Throughout the City of Greenfield, we call upon our community to observe program in the 35th anniversary of Recovery Month by embracing 2024 theme, recovery is for everyone, every person, every family, every community.
Hello, my name is Angelina Alcala and I'm part of the Salazar High School Steps. My name is Juanita and I'm also part of the Soledad High School Steps. I would like to share a few words. It is with great honor that we receive this proclamation and acknowledging September as Recovery Month. Your support is what helps us keep going and be involved in our communities. Like being a part of STEPS has gave us the opportunities to be a part of things like block parties, homecoming parades, Cops Giving True, National Night Out, and more. And we just want to thank you for your support.
So again, going off our steps and there are youth leaders. Soon we're actually gonna get one going here in Greenville. We're really excited for that. But just want to say thank you for your continuous support, council and all the partners in Greenville, because without you guys, we wouldn't be able to make these things happen and be able to get the word out to support our community. So thank you.
You're very welcome. Thank you. You have any questions?
She was just asking for a picture.
Oh, my goodness.
Move on to item J3, sexual assault presentation and other.
Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. This is going to be a high-level overview of sexual assault cases and most of the partners that we have that are here with us from the County District Victim Assistance Program and the Monterey County Rape Crisis Center. It's really all these partners that we have that make the work we do possible to get services to survivors, to get counseling, to succeed in life and overcome this, and also prosecute the perpetrators to the full extent of the law. So the definition of sexual assault, any type of sexual conduct or behavior that occurs without explicit consent from the recipient. That's pretty straightforward. Consequences, the deleterious effects, right? Increased illness, mood changes, sleeping eating disorders, poor attendance at school, lack of self-esteem, anxiety, fear, suicide. We can't overstate the impacts of sexual assault to our youth. It's so some statistics that we have in the last couple of years. So 22, we had 66. And they used the catch-all sexual battery, rape, child molestation, penetration, and sodomy. This year with low numbers still. So we actually have a policy and it's pretty thorough. This is just a quick overview. We care about our victims, their rights, how we interview, how close we sensitive to their needs. The collection of the evidence, the preservation of it, from A to Z. Training. This is where, for all police departments, we've excelled in the last few years. Officers get initial training at the academy, it's just not enough. It's just scratching the surface. So, our officers go to the Robert Presley Institute of Criminal Investigation, ICI, course. It's 80 hours. That's 2 weeks. It's an intensive investigation. They're being watched, they're being evaluated. Skills, search and seizure, search warrants. They have to write search warrants. They have mock cases. They do mock interviews with victims of different ages. So it's a very intensive 2-week course. Other agencies don't send people to these courses. 10, 15, 20 years sometimes of service. All officers go to this course within the first year of coming. So yeah, so that's a fun week. How to deception. There's a lot of cases to go through, and it's pretty intensive, and you're sitting in the hot seat quite a bit as you go through these courses. The next one, BATI for short, Behavior Analysis Training Institute. Another course. Those are pretty intensive courses. So we're working on it to get back to the last 2 courses because they are intensive. And again, that means our officers are away for a week in training, which means somebody has to fill their shift, which means it occurs overtime. It's lodging. So we're trying to get these last 2 courses as much as possible. Also, the Silicon Valley Anti-Crimes Against Children Task Force to also receive funding officers. To how people can reach children, how we can reach children, how we help youth to meet them in certain locations, to send them pictures, pornography. It's a very deviant world. Statistics there again, 1 minors, 917 shared photos to somebody else, and it's kind of scary. Cell phones. Seems to have a cell phone. It's in your house on that cell phone with your child, and it says it's very scary. Inside your door, it's locked in her bedroom with a cell phone, doing who knows what. So the monitoring controls supremely important. Also, in Monterey County, we're very lucky to have this child abuse response team protocol card. It's made up of different teams, right? So law enforcement, services, Side Archer, parts of this group, of this team. So when it comes to victim providing services, this is one place where we can go, get the work done as necessary. Sometimes there's a forensic examination that needs to happen. And try to limit the amount of times that the victim is questioned because we don't want to avoid that trauma that they have. So if we can do one good clean interview versus when at the police station, talking on the way to the advocacy center. And so if we can limit the amount of times they actually talk about it to us, to law enforcement, we're trying to lessen the impact of the trauma. Everybody has their place within this team protocol. Since the interview, make sure that the child is taken care of, make sure that that household is not continuing some sort of abuse. So it really is a team effort. And next slide, law enforcement are investigators qualified to participate in those interviews. intensive. So, they're tested, they're peer reviewed during some of the interviews. They have to sit in on a minimum amount of contacts every year. They have to have a minimum amount of contacts every 2 years to continue certified to be in this process. So not every officer is qualified to do this because again, we're taking somebody from their shift, sending them down to Salinas and Actividad, and those interviews, they're not only traumatic for the child, which we can speak about, but it's also cumulative for the officers. For the officers that are certified, and their wellness is just as important. So, the PD to handle that, it can be pretty intensive. So we're very cautious with that, and we try to protect the officers as much as possible as well. So they don't accumulate the trauma. Coming out, and some of the other officers are also involved in some of this training. So, school, sextortion, that's huge. Kids sending pictures to each other. Somebody else saying they don't. Next thing, they're being extorted for some of money, $500, $1,000, or else they're going to send pictures to their friends. So, deeply important is as much information we can get out to the public and to the teachers, parents, because this is a family issue. So, pretty important. With the DA, with the Rape Crisis Center, YWCA, they're all lock and step to try and prevent sexual assault. Sources, the DA's office, with the assistance program here, and they will present here shortly. I'm lucky here in the PD to have a sitting member of the DA's office twice a week, Tuesdays and Fridays. They're available for services to our residents or anybody in South County, really. Take some questions. We also have the DA's office. So, questions now, or if you want to the presentation.
Okay, why don't we go to the full presentation?
Sure. And I present Ms. Sanchez from the District Attorney's Office.
My name is Alma Sanchez, and I'm the Program Manager for Victim Services within the DA's office. And this is one of our facility dogs, Norma Jean. We have 3, Janine Paccioni, our DA. Our victim unit consists of 13 staff members. We have the program manager, we have program coordinators, we have our advocates, and we have legal secretaries. In 2023, our unit provided 24,244 mandated services to 3,162 new crime victims. Of those, 2,254 services were provided within the Greenfield Police Department to 232 victims. So the 2 days a week that our advocate is in Greenfield is making a big difference in your city. So we do appreciate you allowing us to come in. Some of the services provided were mostly prosecution-based. So our primary focus is making sure victims are aware of the prosecution, their case status, making sure that they're provided support in court so that they're not intimidated. We're providing bilingual services, primary language. That is one of our focus. Property return, court order restitution, victim impact statements, transportation, stay away orders. We want to make sure they feel safe, and we want to make sure they have all their resources available. We do rely on our partners, the YWCA and the Rape Crisis Center, for some of the counseling and other immediate needs, but we do try to help as much as we can. We also want to make sure that they are aware of their victim rights. They do have rights. Some victims feel that it's just the defendant who has rights. The victims do have rights, and we want to make sure that they know what those rights are. Some of the main differences between the DA-based advocates and our community-based partners. DA-based advocates are part of the prosecution team, so we are not confidential. Our community-based partners are confidential. So that's really one of our biggest difference. Anything a victim shares with us, unfortunately, we do have to share with our prosecution team. The role of the advocate, an advocate is assigned to every crime related where there's a victim, there's an advocate assigned. And a victim is contacted pretty quickly. In Greenfield, it's done even quicker because they are in-house. And the great part about having her here is that she is assigned from beginning to end. So she's here, she can meet with victims, but she's also back at the Salinas office 3 days a week where she can provide continuous support. So there's consistency within the victims in Greenfield. We go to court with them, we update them after every single court date. We also arrange meetings with the prosecutor to make sure that all their questions are answered. The legal terms are a little tricky, so we want to make sure they understand them. We also provide support during trials. We have our great dogs. Chief Mixer is now covered in dog hair. But the children are really important to us. Sexual assault victims, domestic violence victims. We want to make sure that when they're walking into court, that they're not fearful. So we go into a courtroom prior to a trial. We do a courtroom tour. It's a completely empty courtroom. We show them where they're going to be sitting. We show them where the advocate might be sitting next to them. The dog might be sitting at their feet. So we like to make sure that they're not walking into a courtroom for the first time in front of a jury, a judge, a suspect, just strangers. So we want to make sure they're comfortable. And at the end of it all, we also want to make sure that they know they have a right to make a victim impact statement. So the judge has an opportunity to hear the victim and listen to them share their experience and the trauma and how it's affected them, sleepless nights, the countless counseling sessions, the having to move, the additional cameras installed in their home. We did have a child who was sexually assaulted in their bedroom. Their primary request was a new bed, so we purchased a new mattress just to make them feel comfortable. There is a California Victim Compensation Program that is state, provides services. Some of the expenses covered are medical, dental, relocation, mental health. The counseling is probably the biggest for sexual assault victims. Relocation is probably another big one, and security cameras. We are very fortunate. We opened our very first Family Justice Center, Holding On to Hope, in King City. And it is a facility where we share space with all of our community-based partners so that victims have to come to one place and not various places. So they are on a rotational basis, but some of the services being provided are legal, therapy, childcare, transportation, just a number of services. But it's in one building and they don't have to travel to various places. And with King City, they now don't have to travel to Salinas. Within the Family Justice Center, we also have, these are our partners. The purple are the ones that are there on a rotational basis. It's not a big building, so we have to share our space. But the Child Advocacy Center is probably the one place I am extremely proud of, because the residents in Greenfield, when a child is being interviewed, they now don't have to travel to Salinas. So they now travel to King City. Parking is easier. The distance is a lot closer. And Greenfield police officers are very familiar with the Child Advocacy Center. They are welcome to come in and interview the children there and not have to travel all the way to Salinas. And our three lovely girls, actually 2 and a boy. Odie is our retired first facility dog, Norma Jean, and Armani. Armani is our newest addition. He just graduated a couple of months ago. But Odie, who is 13, will be 14 in a couple of months. She still comes in. And the most amazing thing about Odie is every time, she used to come into the Greenfield Police Department on Tuesdays until she got a little worn out. But When we do tabling in Greenfield, we have coloring books, we have their trading cards, and it's amazing the children who get so excited because they recognize Odie. And most of them, unfortunately and fortunately, have had interaction with her back at the office because they had to go into the courtroom. But when they see her, they just say, "Oh my gosh, that's Odie. She came into my school. I've met Odie before." And it just makes me extremely happy to know that Odie's made that difference in their lives and helped them through a very difficult time. Norma Jean's been around, it'll be 2 years next month, and Armani just a couple months. So that's us in a nutshell. If you have any questions, I will stick around. And if you want to say hi to Norma Jean, I will bring her around. Come on, Norma.
And now for the Monterey County Rape Crisis Center.
Whatever works best for you.
That's for you.
Okay.
Get out of the way.
All right.
Right. Hello, Council. My name is Bianca, and I am Community Engagement Director over at Monterey County Rape Crisis Center, and we're very excited to be here. We actually have started presentations for all city councils in Monterey County just to make sure that more members of our county know who we are. And City of Greenfield is actually the second one, so thank you so much for having us here. So who does Monterey County Rape Crisis Center serve? We serve survivors of sexual assault and their significant others, family members, friends, or other loved ones, students on school campuses. We know that we have different schools, colleges, high schools, middle schools, elementary schools, so we're able to go ahead and support those folks. We also serve survivors who are currently incarcerated. We know that we have a large prison population here in our county, so we're able to go ahead and support those folks who have gone through sexual violence in the prison or before going into prison via our Prison Rape Elimination Act. It's very important to know that not all rape crisis centers have a Prison Rape Elimination Act program, but here in Monterey County, we do. We also serve children who have experienced a crime, including sexual, physical, emotional abuse, or neglect, or those who have witnessed domestic violence or violent crimes as well. Lastly, we serve survivors of human trafficking, including forced or coerced labor and or sexual exploitations of minors and adults. Some of our services that we have is, oh, it changed on my screen, but it didn't change on your screen. Can I push it again? There we go. All right. Some of our services that we offer at Monterey County Rape Crisis Center is the community engagement team. We facilitate presentations regarding MCRCC resources, child abuse, human trafficking, and attend events and share information in the community and with other organizations, businesses, and college communities. We're very proud to be partnered with the Greenfield Unified School District Collaborative that goes on Fridays here. We're also very glad to participate in any other events such as the Harvest Festival. So we will be here shortly. Our next team is going to be the counseling team, which provides free therapy for children who have experienced crime and adults who have experienced sexual violence or human trafficking or are significant others of a survivor. We know that when sexual violence happens, it doesn't just affect the survivor, it can affect their loved ones, such as a parent possibly, a partner possibly, a dorm mate, right? If you're at a university, it can also affect them. So we're able to lend that counseling support to them. It's very important to note that our counseling is English and in Spanish. It's in person and it's online as well. And we never ask for any type of insurance, police report number. As long as the survivor is ready to go ahead and seek support, we're able to get them that counseling. The crisis intervention team is our biggest team that we have at Monterey County Rape Crisis Center. We have 24/7 helpline in English and Spanish, where people can go ahead and call us to the 831-375-4357. It's confidential, it's anonymous, it's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If people have questions about something that's going on, if they're not sure about what the reporting process is going to be like, they can go ahead and call us and we can go ahead and give them all of the information needed. We are the agency that does accompaniments to forensic medical exams when it comes to sexual violence. We are the advocates that support with initial reporting at law enforcement agencies for sexual violence. We know it might be a little scary to go in there, so we can go ahead and support survivors there. We are also the advocates that support with pretext phone calls when it comes to sexual violence. We know that those pretext phone calls can be really, really important when it comes to law enforcement getting the justice, right, that our survivors need, but it can take a toll, a very hard emotional toll on them. So we are able to go ahead and support them with that. This also includes interviews at Natividad Medical Hospital or a Family Justice Center that just opened here in King City as well. And court hearing, because we know that those can be really difficult as well. And of course, offer advocacy and emotional support, whatever that may look like in person or online. Lastly, our prevention team, which facilitates age-appropriate safety presentations to K through 12 students on a variety of topics. This can include things such as safety, healthy relationships, consent, spectrum of sexual violence, right? Now, it's really important to remember that what we tell the seniors in high school, we don't tell the kindergartners, and what we tell the kindergartners, we don't tell the seniors in high school, right? All of our conversations are super age-appropriate, which is really, really key when talking about safety and consent. We also have the Our Voice Club throughout Monterey County. Currently, it's at 6 different high schools. We're trying to get to more high schools the following academic school year. And this is a high school student-led or a community club that goes on during their lunchtime. And they're trying to lead the way of preventing sexual violence, child abuse, and human trafficking within their peers. This is just a very quick report that will hopefully load in just a second for y'all about our services for the city of Greenfield and throughout 2023. There we go. In 2023, Monterey County Rape Crisis Center supported a total of 1,125 survivors and significant others with 7,534 crisis intervention, advocacy, accompaniments, and counseling services. Those numbers right there are reflected for survivors themselves, but their loved ones as well. And those crisis intervention numbers come from accompaniments to anywhere from law enforcement, pretext phone calls, anywhere from support with the court, anything from actual SART exams themselves. The number on the right, in 2023, MCRCC supported a total of 19 survivors with the assistance of the City of Greenfield Police Department. Those 19 folks are just only specifically when it comes to sexual violence. That does not include child abuse or human trafficking. These are just for exams that were done at Natividad. We do know that there are probably more, but sometimes, right, it's really difficult sometimes for survivors to go ahead and report sexual violence. And lastly, we have just our Stay Connected, right? We have a newsletter that leads you to our website. In case anyone out there might need support, maybe has a question, we're more than happy to go ahead and answer that through our website or through our phone number. That's 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can follow us on social media and you can check us out when we're here at the Harvest Festival in Greenfield next month that we're really excited about on Facebook and Instagram. And that kind of wraps up my presentation. Again, we have the 24/7 line, 831-375-4357. It's safe, it's anonymous, and it's confidential, or with our website in case anyone is interested in a presentation. But thank you so much, City of Greenfield.
Thank you very much for your presentation.
And we have one more from YWCA. And this is just going to be in person. So, Ariana.
Good afternoon, everyone. Can you hear me? Okay. My name is Ariana. I'm with YWCA. I wanted to provide you with some information regarding the services that we offer. We offer therapy services for victims of domestic violence and sexual assault. Our therapists are also trained to do the immigration assessments as well for U visas, T visas, and VAWA. We also do have domestic violence psychoeducational groups As well, another service that we do offer at YWCA is we do have a confidential shelter within the Monterey County area. For victims of domestic violence, we do have a 24-hour crisis line available. And I actually do have some flyers. If it's okay, I can leave some flyers here at the front for anyone who's interested. The crisis line is available 24 hours a day. We also do have a housing program. The housing program does provide assistance for individuals who are victims or survivors of domestic violence. The housing counselors provide assistance with housing navigation services as well, and that includes housing applications, flexible spending as far as assisting them with application fees, helping them out with security deposits, first month's rent, or ongoing rental assistance, utility assistance, depending on the need of the individual, and as well as also connecting with housing authority to get in touch with them as far as which waitlists are open that they may qualify for vouchers or low-income housing as well. Another service we do also provide is we do have financial literacy classes that consist of 5 modules for victims of domestic violence who would like to learn a little bit more about how to manage their money and have a little bit more of an insight of financial abuse and just any other tactics that can help them with savings as well. Do you have any questions?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Thank you.
So as you can see, we have some wonderful partners, and it's only through them that we are able to provide robust services for our residents when they're going through these traumatic events.
Thank you for all of this information. It's amazing to see all of these different departments come together to help victims, and also just to highlight that it's not just about the support after, but in prevention, like the presentations and raising awareness about things, especially like with the high schoolers and sextortion and all the stuff you mentioned. I would just ask if you could please put the flyers up on our socials and maybe through the police department Facebook page also for your socials so that everyone has fast and quick access to these different agencies and what they present. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Thank you for partnering with so many groups. We've never had this in our city, and it is much needed. I mean, you can tell by the numbers that were on the slideshow, you know, that it's much needed. You know how I feel about this. And, you know, and I know that, you know, we have a community member that calls in quite a bit about this. So I'm hoping that she feels better knowing that you're doing, you know, that you're going and working with partnering with all these different groups. I think it's really important for the community to know that we are working hard. Some things like this, you know, aren't out in the forefront, and some things we're doing behind the scenes, you know, but we are making every effort, you know, to bring more services to the community. And I'd really just like to thank everybody for showing up today. It really does mean a lot, and it's really needed in our community. Thank you.
All right. I just want to say, you look like you got some opportunity. We're really active in trying to this issue. Again, thank you for everyone that presented tonight. Appreciate all your hard work, Chief, and getting us all organized.
Thank you.
Right. 485 update banner honoring the veterans.
Good evening, everyone. Yes, everyone. My name is Cesar Chavez. I work for the City of Greenfield Community. Tim probably couldn't be here today with us, so I'm going to provide an update regarding the bank recording. I didn't get a chance to memorize the paragraphs. I'm going to read it. Hope that's okay. The Community Engagement Department has been in communication with the American Legion Greenfield Post. We are discussing the best way to coordinate this special program. This project will honor Greenfield veterans both living and deceased by displaying a 96 by 30 banner on the CR. Banners will include the veteran's picture, the they served in. There are basic guidelines for this special project, some sample designs that will be reviewed by the American Legion and application. Discussion between staff and the American Legion will revolve around the cost of banners, the number of local veterans in the records, the suitable funding source, and the best way to promote this program and facilitate it. Due to low staff capacity in our department, we carrying out this special project, we can pursue this with the large amount of support from our American Legion and or volunteers in our community. The American Legion has shown interest in supporting this project, and the board will discuss the details at their September 19th meeting. We've added potential funding and the project scope to their agenda. The city and the Legion aim to launch the Veterans Banner Program in 2024, but if not, promotion will start for 2025. We'll share this update and hope to share more information on this item soon.
What was that meeting for the American Legion meeting?
September 19th.
Hi. I did speak to the American Legion today. We did have a little discussion about the banners. And I think what we're kind of going over just some numbers, you know, and it seems like maybe there would be a lot of banners for deceased people that have served in the military. And so they were kind of questioning, you know, how are we going to go about this, you know? I hope that that's something that we can work on, you know, and that we have some, you know, available for people who are currently serving. I think it's really important. They did say that most likely, you know, it'd probably be maybe Memorial Day, you know, because we're already pretty close to November,
Yeah.
you know, to Veterans Day. So they said maybe, they were thinking maybe put them up on Memorial and on Veterans, you know, up and then down, up and then down. But I'm glad that you're working with them on that and that, you know, hopefully we can see those up pretty soon.
So I do know there's 30 spaces to hang banners.
Yeah.
Anything else? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, we will now move to public hearings. K1, adopt a resolution of the city council, of the city of Greenfield, approving a 1-year extension for the Miramonte investment. Staff report, please.
Can you hear me okay?
Okay.
That's good.
Speak loudly.
Okay. So good evening, council members, mayor. Evelyn here with the Community Development Department. Our item today is one that most, if not all of you are likely familiar with. It's the Miramonte subdivision. And this is time extension number 2 for the vesting tentative map. A little background on the project. The Miramonte annexation and 151 lot subdivision was originally approved by City Council on March 12, 2019. Followed with several City Council actions for annexation. This included pre-zoning, a tax sharing agreement, and a right-of-way maintenance agreement. In 2020, the applicant came back to City Council to request a 2-year time extension. So this brought the new expiration date to March 2023. Then in December 2022, they requested a subsequent extension, this time just for 1 year. This application was ultimately withdrawn by virtue of AB 1361. This was a bill that granted an 18-month extension to certain housing entitlements as a response to the COVID pandemic and the effects that had on the construction development markets. This brings us to most recently, June 2024. The applicant is seeking one final 1-year extension since only 3 years are allowed. Little detail on the request. So this will be a final extension, as I mentioned, and this brings the final deadline to September 11th of 2025. And the rationale for this is that the applicant has been working to secure a buyer, market the property, and they've had 3 potential buyers that have opened escrow, but have ultimately backed out of the purchase. And main factors for this include COVID-related market uncertainty and more recently interest rate increases. So this time extension is necessary for them to continue marketing the property to a developer or to possibly prepare a final map for recognition. And these concerns were listed by the applicant in the letter that they submitted requesting this final extension, which is included as an attachment to your report. And the applicant's also here today with a brief presentation, and I'm sure she'll be happy to answer any questions. Staff supports the resolution to approve a 1-year extension, and we know there's been one change to the conditions of approval, and that's condition number 11, and that's simply updating the new expiration date for the map. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I will go ahead and open the public hearing. Speak on that.
Thank you and good evening. My name is Deborah Rich. I'm a co-owner of the Miramonte project along with my brother. And I'd like to spend a few minutes to review the history of this vesting tentative map. As you know, it's been around for a while. I think it's important that we have a shared understanding of why and also why it's critical that we continue to extend this vesting tentative map. The map traces back to 2004, so 20 years ago, when a developer approached us about purchasing the land and putting in a subdivision. We went under contract with them and they launched right away to working with the city of Greenfield to develop a vesting tentative map. They spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on the engineering studies, on the fees, on consulting hours, and after 3 years, the map still was not done. At that point, they pulled out, as was their right, and they just said, you know, we just cannot be put at economic risk for this long. At that point, my brother and I decided that we would build upon the work that they had done, and we finished out the engineering studies, and a year later, we were able to secure the vesting tentative map in 2008. Our intention was to move right forward to annexation, but right during that time period, LAFCO imposed a moratorium on all annexations into the city of Greenfield until the city and the county negotiated a memorandum of understanding about how all annexations would be handled going forward. That process took 6 years. So there was really no moving forward, during that time period. The other thing that began to happen during that time period was that the entire nation was going into a housing crisis in 2009, 2010. And it was so severe that, at least here in California, successive pieces of California legislation kept all vesting tentative maps current through to 2015. But here in Greenfield, the downturn lasted longer. It took longer to absorb the units that had been made available or that had come available, unfortunately, through people losing their homes. And it really wasn't until around end of 2017 into 2018 that the city could give us some encouraging signals that they could again start to look at subdivisions, entertain annexations. So by 2019, working with the city, we had renewed the vesting tentative map, and at that point, the city agreed that they could help us to sponsor annexation. So we started right in on that process, despite the fact that there's an MOU that remains a cumbersome, expensive process, and it took until December of 2019 for us to get through LAFCO and the county to get annexed. Timing again was difficult. In December of 2019, we were starting to hear about a virus named COVID, and by the beginning of 2020, we were all hunkering down, figuring out how to work from home and making masks. So in that time period, the initial part of 2020, the housing market again just tanked across the nation. It actually went lower down than during the housing crisis. Partly in response to that and just out of concern in general for the state of the economy, the federal government lowered interest rates, which had already been low for actually about 10 to 12 years. They lowered the interest rates even further. the federal rate was lowered to between 0.25% And that brought mortgage rates down. At that time period, in mid-2020, 30-year mortgage rates were below 3%. So though the housing market initially just crashed down, it spiked right back up, partly because of interest rates and partly because people were realizing, we have some flexibility, we can work from home. There was great interest in moving, purchasing homes and in building homes. And that was reflected in interest on our project. Between 2021 and 22, as was mentioned, we negotiated through to 3 separate purchase agreements. Those negotiations are lengthy and costly, but in the end, unfortunately, they don't mean as much as they used to for reasons that I'll mention in a minute. And it wasn't until we were in the 3rd purchase agreement that was in 2022, we were working with D.R. Horton, they're a national builder. And once they signed, we really did feel that they were very serious about it. They launched right into their due diligence. And we were all very hopeful that that would go through. But again, there's context. They signed with us in April. In March of 2022, the federal government was now concerned about the economy overheating. So they did their first interest rate increase in actually like 10 to 12 years. And then that just started a stair step up of interest rates, which causes an accompanying increase in mortgage rates. So by July, D.R. Horton, as per their right by contract, pulled out because they were concerned about what's going to happen to the buyers. And by December of 2022, mortgage rates were double what they were when Horton had signed with us just in April. And that increase in mortgage rates again caused the national housing market to just tank. I have a chart here, maybe we can put up. This is just all U.S. pending home sales, new and old, and it's simply a timeline of along the bottom. But this first big dip down, that was the housing crisis, 2009, 2010. Then we percolate along pretty well there for a while, and then it's a real sharp dip down, that second one there, and that's COVID. That's 2020, and you see the real quick recovery and a lot of activity for a couple of years, and then that crashing back down, that's mid-2022. That's the increase in interest rates, so what's happening. And the tail end of that chart is actually 2024. So into us, the national market today. So that's the background, that's the context that our map has been existing in. More recently, there's some positive news. As of this week, the 30-year mortgage rate is down about a full percentage point from the high that it reached in October of last year. The feds will meet next week. We're expecting that they're going to lower again. Hopefully we'll get that mortgage rate coming down a little bit further. Probably almost more importantly, there's been some really nice moves here in Greenfield. Just a couple of months ago, the city of Greenfield completed a new water main down Apple to 13th. So that's the southern and western border of our property. That removes a huge headache off the backs of a future developer. The city has also been working with their sewage plans, and as per Doug Pike, they've identified a different connection point that should be easier for a future developer to work with and hopefully provide them some cost savings as well. So those are real important positives, which brings me to just the last things I'd like to say is that it's going to take a lot of things coming together for this property to get sold and these houses to get built. Obviously, we've seen that what's happening in the national economy has a huge impact, but other things have an impact as well. Everything that we can do to make the project attractive, here in the city is going to be super important because during the same 20-year time period, there's been tremendous consolidation in the home building industry. There's many fewer local builders now. Most of them are regional, some of them are national. And what that means is that when they're negotiating with us to a purchase agreement, they are simultaneously doing so, not maybe just in other places in the Salinas Valley, but throughout California, maybe into Arizona, Nevada, Oregon. And they're going to kind of collect a basket of these purchase agreements. And then they're going to start resifting. And they're going to look at, okay, where's a community that we can work with? Where's a city government that wants this project? Where's a landowner who's responsive and probably flexible on price? The national economy is going to have to be there. And then in the end of the day, they're going to choose those ones that rise to the top. A key part of rising to the top is having a vesting tentative map on the property. It used to be, again, about 20 years ago, that it was the norm that the developer developed the vesting tentative map. And that really is the model that makes more sense. But it's not going to happen in anything other than the hottest markets. They're not going to start a process that can take years, can put them at risk for these market cycles. And that it's a really expensive process when you're starting from zero. So in these, quote, secondary markets, secondary only in the sense that they're smaller, there's fewer dollars chasing these homes. They're just not going to put that time in. So making this project attractive, making it rise to the top of the basket also does require this vesting tentative map. And I do want to just reassure you that I know as a landowner that we have a really important part in making this project attractive as well. And our job is to be super responsive to everybody who, you know, comes in and says we're interested in your project, whether or not they're operating in good faith or not. We are always operating in good faith. And we realize that, frankly, a big part of it is pricing it attractively. And we have always worked with people who come to us interested in the land. What has caused the purchase agreements to fall through has not been the price. It has been the bigger background issues of what's happened in the economy. The price of the land will be actually a very small piece of their overall costs in developing these houses. But we are committed. It's really expensive for us to go through this process to maintain vesting tentative maps. It's expensive to entertain the purchase agreement. It costs lawyer fees. And I just want to reassure you that we are very aware of our role and we are committed to getting this land sold so these homes can get built. And lastly, it was mentioned about, you know, well, maybe the landowner is going to go through to a final map. And I would like to take that option off of the table. I think if you look through the multiple page list of conditions that have to be met to go from a vesting tentative map to a final map, and I think it becomes real clear that the only people you want doing that with you all is somebody who's going to build, because those conditions deal with details like where's the air conditioning going to go, the air conditioning units, what type of concrete you're using. You certainly don't want somebody like us who doesn't have that knowledge in our toolbox making those decisions, nor do I think you want us locking the city and a developer into decisions, and then those buildings might not be happening for 2 or 3 years, and the city's needs change and regulation changes and technology changes. So without a builder right there in their back pocket, I don't think it's that time to be talking about a vesting tentative map. So I appreciate your time. I know that's a lot, and I'm happy to entertain any questions.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Public hearing is still open. Does anyone else want to speak to this item?
So my name is Mike Bassetti, and I am the real estate agent that represents Deborah Rich and her brother in marketing this property. We've been marketing since March of 2019. Long process. But I want to make sure that you folks understand that, you know, I don't just put a sign up or put it on the website and wait for the calls to come in. I am actively marketing this. I'm always talking to developers, home builders, you know, both regional and national. You know, I was the one that reached out to D.R. Horton. A lot of the things that are happening in Salinas tend to dovetail down here. And I hear about that up there because that's where my office is. And so I think it's really important to understand that not only is Deborah doing her part, but the guy who's marketing is doing his part as well. I'm not just sitting on my laurels. I'm actually out there hustling, talking to people, talking hopefully the right people. Yeah, I think you have a good project here for the city. And it's just a matter of time now before I find somebody who's actually going to sign the dotted line.
Thank you very much. Anyone else for this item? If not, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Back to council comments, review and action. Does council have any questions? Obviously, you've certainly been through ups and downs on this project for a long period of time, so I'm very much in favor of granting the extension. Give them another year to make this project work. I know the city has stepped in and done a few things for like the sewer lines and the different connections, so hopefully we're being a good partner for you also, so.
And I was able to sit in on the planning commission meeting when you presented, so planning commission did a really good job asking you a lot of questions, so thank you. I'll make a motion to go ahead and extend.
I'll second.
And moved in second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Congratulations. Thank you.
Thank you.
We've been at this for a while. Why don't we take a 10
No.
All right, welcome back. About the resolution, the council city will be approving a joint exercise of agreement, cooperative agreement, with Monterey County, Dallas, Marina, Kansas City, and upstate to assist in the undertaking of essential activities within the Housing and Community Development Act 1974, limited for the period of July 1st, 2025 through June 30th, 2027. Staff report, please.
City Council, the development program it's on a formula basis to entitle cities and counties to develop communities. Economic with the cities of Gonzales, San City, Delray Oaks, and Greenfield. This is for a period of 3 years, ending in June of 2000. During this period, funds paid for Patriot Park restrooms, the food concession stands at Patriot Park, connections to the city sewer system at Patriot Park, a new fire engine, and recently a project was approved with these funds, stream improvement project. Jurisdictions receive HUD grant funds annually on a competitive basis. It is estimated that Greenfield will receive approximately $560,000 to use at its discretion for CDBG eligible project. Said that the exact number is subject to a formula of the consortium, so that's an estimate. So that the city council this relationship we have with the jurisdictions and approve a resolution to enter into a joint exercise of powers agreement. Respective cities, this cohort, cities are San City and Greenfield. And remarks, any questions you may have?
I'm going to open up the public hearing. Do you want to speak on K2? Seeing no activity, I will close the public hearing. Bring it back to council. Questions?
So I've got to ask, how did they pick those cities? How did they pick Gonzales, Greenfield, San City, and Marina out of all the cities in the county?
I think the voluntary thing, right? Correct.
Correct. And there's a number of criteria associated with it. Some of the larger jurisdictions like to roll the dice and try and compete for grants. We have so many grants opportunities as it is right now. We're happy to have this as a sure thing. You weigh the risk and benefits, and the benefits far outweigh the risks in going the other direction. So Pacific Grove was part of this, and they just recently decided, maybe we're not going to go with that. It's fine. It's one of the largest cities in the county. They've agreed, and so there's a sufficient minimum population consortium, but they call it a, I guess, where these cities are part of an urban HUD's
Part of these funds will be going to part of these funds that we will receive will be going to the
There are two projects involving the Walnut Avenue. The Walnut Avenue overcrossing is one, and then the second project is this particular project, which is for sidewalks from King on the south side. That's the school to El Camino Real, easterly.
Yeah, that's what.
Okay. Yes.
Two.
Second.
The second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item L1, discuss and approve recreational vehicle boat trailer parking.
Good evening, Mayor White and City Council. This is an item that you discussed previously at the July 23rd, 2024 City Council meeting. And at that meeting, we reviewed the city's ordinances that relate to recreational vehicle, boat, and trailer parking. And the City Council directed staff to create a pilot program related to parking those types of vehicles. Also at that meeting, the City Council asked the City Attorney to provide additional information about what King City, Soledad, and Gonzales do with respect to parking these types of vehicles. And so I did provide that information in your staff report, but I'll summarize it for you here too. So in Soledad, on-street parking is prohibited. So parking these types of vehicles is entirely prohibited on the street in residential zones. In King City, it's prohibited for any period of time more than 72 hours. And the same is true for Gonzales, except that in Gonzales, the 72-hour prohibition is on all types of vehicles, not just recreational vehicles. And then neither King City nor Gonzales have any off-street parking restrictions for these types of vehicles. But in Soledad, you may only park in the front, exterior side, or rear yard you may not park in those areas for more than 3 consecutive days or 6 days in a calendar year. So that's just some additional information about the local cities. And so based on the feedback at this July 23rd meeting, we've drafted a pilot program which essentially allows RVs, boats, and trailers to park in residential driveways, which is currently prohibited by the city's ordinance, as long as those vehicles don't encroach onto the public right-of-way, so probably the sidewalk. And so the pilot program is to allow that parking, so in the hopes that that will get some of those vehicles off of the street. The city police department plans to educate owners of those types of vehicles that are currently parked on the street to let them know that they may now park in the driveway. And then the city police department will anecdotally track the effectiveness of the program, the pilot program, and will report back to the city council at the first council meeting in January. With that, I can answer any questions that you may have.
We'll go ahead and go to public comment at this point.
Hello again, I'm Dr. Lourdes Villarreal, and I want to thank again Council Member Tipton for being supportive and and bringing this forth. However, when I read the pilot program draft, I had mixed feelings because it appears to be a win-win for the people who own the vehicles, and because now they get to park them in their driveway, etc., their yards, which many of them already do. Just to right around Greenfield, and you already see it happening. So it's already happening. So win for them. Now they can just keep them there, and then. Now, it doesn't do away with, okay, they can still park out in the street, which is what is affecting me or was affecting me and affects others. So now they can have it both ways. They can have it in their yard and the kids still have it for 72 hours. And as City Attorney Thompson said, there's like a loophole or a gap here because there's no restriction on the 72 hours. I mean, it's 72 hours, but as I told you, I came like 5 times and over. I kept telling me they're just moving it a few inches so that when they're marked, then you don't see the mark anymore. And then move it back and forth, move it to the other side of the street, move it back in front of my house. So I don't know. I don't know how this is going to help people like myself. With this, it's going to help the people who already have them in their yards and their driveways. I say it all the time, boats, campers, etc. So it's already happening. They can do it if they want to. And if not, they can just continue doing it on the street in front of other people's homes. So I don't know. I don't know how this pilot program is supposed to work in preventing the kind of problems that I and others have had with this situation. So I don't know. I don't know. But hey, congratulations to those who already have it, and they can have it both ways. Thank you.
Any other public comment on this? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council comments, review and action. So let me understand. So there is a 72-hour restriction on the street, correct?
That's correct, and that's on any one street. So you can park for 72 hours on a particular street. So moving the vehicle 6 feet, 6 inches, it still doesn't comply with the code. You would have to move it to a different street.
So there is no time limit if they park it in the driveway or why on?
Yes, I was just looking. No, not as it's written. We can put a time limit.
Any other comments, questions?
From the history that we've heard, the way that it's been enforced though hasn't been where the vehicle has to be moved to a different street, right? So if we were to start enforcing it, if the PD started enforcing it as the car actually does have to be moved from that street, then that would address the issue, at least the one that's been presented to us.
I think that the chief should respond to that question. I don't know how it's been enforced. I just know the language of the ordinance and what we've heard is public comment.
Interpretation of the officers that the street, but as long as the vehicle is moved to a certain distance after that 72 hours, it would not be ticketed. And that's how we operated. So this us. So that's how we want to proceed. We can proceed. We start citing the vehicle to the other side of the street. Street.
That kind of thing, or is it actual cars and things like that also?
Do you mean the pilot program
The
or?
72 hours.
The 72 hours is for recreational vehicles. I don't have the regular vehicles in front of me.
Only it concerns me about having the trailers parked in the front. I know that there are some homes that do have trailers in the back that people are living in, but I'm concerned that if we allow the trailers on the side of the house, with no time limit, what do we do when people start living in them?
They still can't live in it.
They still can't?
Yeah, they cannot live in a trailer.
Okay.
In the front or side or.
I feel that is a legal interpretation of what we already have that says that they have to be moved to a different street. That enforcing it that way would already solve a big part of the issue. And then allowing people to have that ability, because we did have a lot of residents come and speak about wanting to have the ability to park their vehicles, yeah. So I would be in favor of that.
Any other questions or comments?
It's going to create an issue for the residents that now will have the parking for the residents. It's a whack, the problem for one area. So maybe a temporary solution for some.
This is only time.
Right. So, how would you know if somebody's living in it or not? Do you guys go check or do you just, how would you know that somebody was living in it or not?
If somebody's living in it, somebody's usually called us last night, or somebody living in his trailer. There's electrical to it. So we will knock and see. Somebody coming out of it with grocery bag or something. So usually there's an indicator as to why someone's living in it.
I'm almost wondering if we want to combine the street parking with a reduction in that 72-hour limit for the street parking. So maybe reduce it to 24 or 48 hours. So that they are encouraged to move it into their yard as opposed to leaving it on the street.
I would just say that 72 hours is pretty common, and I think the reason is that that's people, if they, for example, use a storage yard for their RV, they bring it home so they can load it up for their trip, clean it, those kinds of things. But you know, it's at your discretion. It's just that's, I think, the rationale is people need time to load it and clean it and all of those things.
Because that's one of the things I've noticed in some of the other cities is they allow 24 or 48 hours for exactly what you were just discussing, prepping it for a trip or coming back and cleaning it out after a trip. So that's kind of where I was leaning with that is maybe cutting it down to 24 or 48 hours. So if they go get it on Friday, they leave on Sunday, it's good to go. If they go get it on Friday and leave it on Monday, they're pushing it a little bit, but they're not going to be able to keep it much faster.
Because that wasn't part of what the report included and stuff, changing that hour, is that something that we're even able to make a decision on today?
You could ask that it be amended and we can bring it back at the next meeting.
Well, I have a question. Is there going to be like a minimum distance where they need to move when they do move it? You said they can move it after 72 hours?
Well, interpretation is it moves a different street.
Yeah, as written, it's a different street, and I think that's the concern Tree Mixer was expressing, is that someone may just move their RV to someone else's street.
Yeah.
So it's not really solving the problem.
It's not solving the problem.
I think nobody really does have a perfect solution though, you know, and we asked for a pilot program to be pitched so that we could try to find a better way, and I think it's at least worth trying. It is a pilot. And seeing how it goes. Because I don't think any one of us can think of a perfect solution for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think some cities just completely prohibit parking on the street or in the yard, which causes different problems. So it's really, you're probably right. A pilot program is just so we can see what works.
How long?
I propose bringing it back in January, the first meeting in January, so 3-ish.
I will move to approve.
I'll move with a condition that we started on October 1st.
We move in second. All those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Amended October 1st and this
To January.
All right, we move to L2. Resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield rejecting bids for the City of Greenfield 2024 pavement maintenance project, year 3, and direct staff to make minor modifications to the project and advertise for bids. Staff report, please.
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. This is the third year of the 3-year street program to maintain pavement in the city of Greenfield. Pavement repair in this project is similar to year 1 and 2. Project utilizing a mix of strategies, including grind and repair, rubberized chip seal, slurry seal, rejuvenation fog seal, and restriping. The project was publicly noticed and an invitation to bid issued in June of 2024. One bid was received on July 18th by VSS International in the amount of $1,390,120, which exceeded the available budget of $954,471. The budget that we do have is inclusive of project design, construction, contingency, and inspection. So there was a post-bid analysis done and some conversations were had with the bidder. The city's bid opening unfortunately fell on the same date as multiple other jurisdictions' bid openings for similar work. The relatively small size of our project compared to other jurisdictions, combined with our remote location, resulted in a single high bid. BSS bid our last project and was nearly 65% higher than the successful low bidder, which was consistent with pricing over our estimate at this project at 60% over. After contacting other contractors, they indicated they would participate in a rebid of the project, especially since it would be near the end of the construction season for pavement work with fewer competing regional projects. With anticipated additional bidders, including last year's successful low bidder, the confidence of a successful bid is high. To assure success, the specification has been modified to break the work into smaller base bid scope of work by placing other areas under 4 additive alternates and for bid schedules. This ensures that a successful bid within budget, even if some of the work needs to be deferred, would be able to occur. The budget, again, for the entire project is $954,471, which is in the approved fiscal budget. And the proposed project is expected to remain within that budget. And so staff is recommending City Council adopt the proposed resolution to reject all bids for the City of Greenfield 2024 pavement maintenance project year 3 and direct staff to make minor modifications to the project and re-advertise for bid. Questions?
I'll go ahead and open up for public comments on L3.
Good evening, Stephanie Garcia, Greenfield resident. I didn't see the staff report, so sorry. But I'm wondering if, I know that on 13th Street between Apple and Oak, the street was repaved and it's beautiful, it's black, but it's still bumpy. I mean, it still throws out my back. I'm wondering, is there a warranty on that work? Did they forget the steamroller part to make it flat? And I invite you all to drive down that about 35 miles an hour, if that's the limit. Whatever the limit is, do that. It is really, really bumpy.
Anyone else? Not, I'll bring it back to council. Questions?
So my first question is if I'm looking at the map that you provided, I only see 3 additional bid areas. I don't see a 4th. I see additive bid 2, additive bid 3, and additive bid 4 along the base bid. I don't see an additive bid 1.
That is the base bid.
Oh, because what you just said is there.
One moment while I set this microphone.
Yeah, you said to assure success, the specification has been modified to break the work into a smaller base bid and placing the other areas under 4 additive alternate bid schedules.
I'd have to go back and look at all the details to see which is incorrect. If it's that there's 4 or that there's 3.
I think the main thing here is to go back out to bid for this project.
Yes, yes. And what we'd like to do is to get as much as we can within our budget. We're hoping that we can get more bids due to the timing of the bid last time. And we just want to ensure that we don't go through the whole process with bids that are too high and above our budget, which is why we wanted to add other areas. Some of these add alternates are areas that were not on our 3-year pavement maintenance program, but we thought that we would be able to include them in the budget. So that's why they're added alternates as well.
And do we have a guarantee of the craftsmanship of the work?
So on the 13th Street, to respond to the resident, it was not a pavement job. It was just a fog seal over the top. And so it was not to redo the pavement. It was just to do a seal on that side.
Any other questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion on L3.
I'll second.
Moved and seconded. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passes. Good bill. L4, adopt a resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, approving a request to transfer an appropriation for capital improvement project budget for fire department improvements for fiscal year 2023.
Mayor White.
I think you skipped one.
The one that was just approved is L2.
L3. A resolution of the City Council, City of Greenfield, awarding construction funding for a public works construction contract in the amount of $959,293 to Mission Critical Specialists Incorporated for procuring and installing 9 standby generators, transfer switches, concrete pads, and all equipment. Connecting an existing generator from the police department to the emergency operations center, and authorizing the city manager to negotiate, execute contract, and assign additional work in accordance with the resolution, and authorize the city engineer, M&S Engineers Incorporated to perform construction and management inspection services in the amount of $32,900. Staff report, please.
Thank you. Apologize for the long title on that one. This project will provide 9 new emergency generators and concrete pads to city critical facilities to provide backup power during prolonged power outages. The 9 locations include Cypress Lift Station, the Greenfield Fire Station, the wastewater plant, Los Ositos Lift Station, Nino Lift Station, Oak Booster Pump, Reed Lift Station, Tyler Lift Station, and the Vineyard Lift Station. The project will also connect the existing generator from the police department to the Civic Center. The project was publicly noticed in an invitation to bid issued in June of 2024. We received 5 bids on Thursday, July 25th. And the responsible low bidder was in the available construction budget of $1,064,381. The bids received and the bid amounts are in the table below. You can see they ranged from the low bid of $959,293.96 all the way up to just under $2 million. Staff reviewed each of the bid for conformity with requirements of the bid documents. Based on that review, it was determined that Mission Critical Specialists was the lowest responsible bidder. A Mission Critical Specialist specializes in critical power industry with an office in Diamond Springs. The firm has considerable experience with backup generation, HVAC systems, and as well as other supply systems. They hold a Class B general contractor's license and a C10 electrical contractor's license. It is also recommended that a budget be approved and authorized for construction project management and inspection to M&S Engineers not to exceed $32,900 or 3.4% of the project. The financial and budget impact, the city has received a grant from the Hazard Mitigation Grant Program from FEMA through the California Governor's Office of Emergency Services. The total funds available for the project are $1,064,381.75. The federal share is 90% of that fund, which is $957,943.58. The city is responsible for a 10% match in the amount of $106,438.17. And the project will also receive an additional fund of federal monies for management costs in the amount of $53,219.09. So the proposed award to Mission Critical Specialists is $959,293 $293.96. And construction management to M&S, not to exceed 32,900. And then also a construction contingency for the contractor of 10% or $95,929 for unexpected project delays or scope changes. And all of these expenditures are within the existing capital improvement budget.
Right, thank you. I will open L3 up for public comment. Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council comments, review, and action. This has been an ongoing project for quite a while, so happy to see this come forward. Do you have a timeline on completion?
We do not at this time. We will be executing the contract if City Council does approve the award. Once we execute that contract, we'll be able to have a kickoff meeting with the contractor and will likely issue a limited notice to proceed to order generators because that will be the longest lead time. And then at that point, we should have a timeline for completion on that. Not right now. They could be anywhere from 3 to 6 months away.
You said they put them on pads?
Pads, yeah, concrete pads.
How big is this?
So we actually did this more as a performance specification to where the contractors were mandatory to go to all of the locations and all the sites and do measurements and be able to provide us with a size of generator and pad that would fit inside of our specified areas, but also meet the requirements needed for the actual generation. So we actually don't know at this point the exact dimensions of the
Will you be able to
generators.
see them when you're driving by or?
Yes, like the Tyler lift station down by the high school, you can see that there's that yellow generator in there, so you will be able to see them. You will not see the one at the fire station. But at the lift stations and at the booster station, you may be able to see it. The Oak booster station.
Right, any other questions? I'll entertain a motion. Motion, do I have a second?
One second.
Second, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you.
L4, resolution, City Council, City of Greenville approving a request to transfer appropriation for capital improvement project for fire station improvements from fiscal year 2023-24 to fiscal year 24-25 in the amount of $336,707. Staff report.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This item, the City Council met on March 26th of last year and approved a supplemental appropriation for the following items. 10% seismic retrofit design for the fire station, a 10% match for a permanent fire station generator, as well as a number of firehouse modifications. Of these amounts, only around $142,000 has either been spent or encumbered on the firehouse modifications, leaving an unexpended, unencumbered budget for 23-24, so that's last year, of around $167,000. No other line items have been expended or encumbered. In addition to that, all of the funding mechanisms, so if you recall, these improvements were funded around $100,000 from the general fund, but the rest of it is coming from ARPA monies. All that has been done. So in last fiscal year, all the money is residing in the is in the capital expenditures fund. So to complete the purchase of all these items, since the budget was budgeted last year and now we're into this year, we just need to move the budget numbers, expenditure numbers into this year. So that's basically what this request is. We're requesting the transfer of the remaining appropriations from the CIP budget funds that were not expended or encumbered from last year into this year. Yeah, and I just explained the transfer of the funding was done last year, so nothing has to happen there. It's just the expenditures. So that's the question.
All right, I'll open up the public comments. L4. And then I'll bring it back to council comments, review and action. So this is just really a budget.
It is, it should have been,
Year.
it should have been done at the regular budget, and we've seen a couple of these already, and it normally occurs with capital improvements where we're not quite sure where we're drawing the line as far as encumbering and spending. And this past year, as you know, we've had a new budget process with a new software system. So this transfer of the money didn't happen here, and there have been a couple of other ones that we've approved earlier. So yeah, it's not normal, but it doesn't affect the budget in any way in the long term. It's just a transfer from last year into this year.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passed. City attorney report,
I have nothing to report.
city manager.
Not much. Welcome back. We had staff had I want to say a nice month-long holiday, but we got to address a lot of things in the office, but we are happy to be back, and you guys whipped right through this, so it's a good thing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much. Meeting is adjourned.